Dale, we talked about SVP, sympathetic vibratory physics, and I think we need to, for our listeners, get a little bit more clarity as to what sympathy or sympathetic vibration is. Would you care to expound on that and give a very concise explanation so that people come away with the proper understanding of what sympathy and sympathetic vibration means?
That's a good question. I think it's fundamental. An understanding of that is fundamental to understanding any of the science and even nature, as sympathy and sympathetic vibration are at the very core of all activity, whether it's atomic motion, molecular motion, planetary motion, or people. Mm-hmm. And plants and animals, it's all of this. The fundamental function of vibration is the same, no matter what arena it's in. Sympathetic vibration is a term that's been used in the music world for centuries. And it refers to the concept that if you have two strings or two tuning forks of the same pitch, you excite one, the other responds.
Right.
For instance, Keeley did an experiment once where he put 1,000 tuning forks in a room, all by themselves. They're all tuned to the same pitch. Mm-hmm. And he took one tuning fork outside the room, and through a small hole in the wall, he struck that one fork, and the whole 1,000 of them responded. Mm. So we could look at that event and say, well, all these 1,000 tuning forks are vibrating in resonance with the original exciter fork, which would be accurate and be true. The point that's being sometimes glossed over is the vibrations between the single exciter and 1,000 responders are sympathetic vibrations. Those sound vibrations inherent in one and inherent in 1,000 are the same frequency, the same pitch, so the vibrations between those are sympathetic vibrations. Mm-hmm. Resonance is the effect of the sympathetic vibrations.
So then sympathetic vibration, is that sort of a causal factor?
Well, it's more of a
Related
connecting
to cause,
link. It's like a connecting link. If you connect two things with a string and you pluck the string, those two things are going to respond to the excitation of the string. So the string in this case is like a metaphor for the sympathetic vibration.
Gotcha.
And so many people have confused the term resonance with sympathetic vibration, and they are not the same.
Why is it important to differentiate between those two?
Because one we can work with, we can cause the resonance to take place using sympathetic vibration. And there are other factors too, which we don't need to go into, more technical things. Part of that, or at the core of sympathetic vibration, is this thing called sympathy. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look up sympathy in a dictionary or you ask your friends and neighbors, they're all going to say, well, it's feeling sorry for somebody.
Sure, the connotation doesn't.
And that's not the true definition. If you go back to the real good dictionaries instead of the common street type dictionaries or the people down your street, it means feeling the same as.
Okay.
You know, I'm in sympathy with you because, you know, somebody died in your family. And I am in sympathy. I am in sympathetic resonance with your feelings. Doesn't mean I'm feeling sorry for you or the dead person. It just says, you know, I feel what you're feeling.
There's a likeness there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we're feeling as one. So sympathy is like a state of being between two or more entities, whether it's two people or two atoms or two whatever. Mm-hmm. There's a state of sympathy. For instance, we could take a more roundabout way of looking at it, and this might be a help to some people. If all the vibrations in an atom, a single atom, gold atom, have a certain chord of vibration. Mm-hmm. Now there's certain variations according to isotopes, but the basic chord is the same no matter what atom of gold or where it is. They all have the same chord. So every atom of gold is in sympathy with every other atom of gold. Mm-hmm. So there exists between them a sympathetic chord
Right.
of vibration. So what we do to one atom affects another atom, even if it's in Russia or on the moon.
Sure.
It's all going to be sympathetically affected. So there are degrees of sympathy. So if we've got a chord, for instance, Keeley said the best tuning fork made is only in tune by 1/40th, which implies there's perhaps 40 harmonics built into that tuning fork, but they're not all in sympathy with harmonics in a second tuning fork. But if we tuned all the harmonics inherent in that fork with all the harmonics in another fork, we would have an extremely high degree of sympathy between the two forks. In that regard, we can look at the universe and say, well, every atom of gold is in sympathy with every other atom, but it's not necessarily in sympathy with carbon or oxygen. However, all those atoms are composed of electrons,
Right.
the same electrons. So all the electrons are in sympathy, no matter where they are, what they're part of. And that's the grand sympathy or symphony of the universe. Because when you touch an atom here, its electrons will be excited in every atom, in everything in the universe. And this is the grand connecting link that Keeley worked with, that modern science totally ignores because, well, for a lot of reasons. But so without that sympathy, and sympathy is just another word for love.
Right.
So when we say the universe is built on love or based on love, there is a technical reason for saying that. It's not just the emotional feeling. There is a solid vibratory phenomena backing up this concept. So if you cuss at like Emoto's work, if you cuss at a glass of water and that water gets produces a strange crystallization, it's also having an effect on water elsewhere. Not to as great a degree because you're focused on that one piece, but it still resonates everywhere. So it behooves us to think about being in a state of perpetual gratitude or allowing in every moment, because then we're not negatively modulating all these things around us.
Sure. Right.
Which reverberate out into our community and our universe.